Hello, welcome to my tarot video channel. I did a reading for COVID-19 about a week or so ago, just to see what the general lay of the land was and if I could learn anything from the tarot, big questions. And since then I've been doing some readings for May 2020 for the different astrological signs, and I just kept feeling that there was a bit missing, that I needed to do a general reading for COVID-19 for May as well, because although individually stuff was coming up that I could see was probably related to having been in lockdown, I couldn't quite tell whether it meant it was ongoing or not. Sorry, I thought my battery was about to go. If I suddenly disappear, I'll get back to you. So I decided to do a COVID-19 reading for May, just to see if it could throw any light on where we might be headed with it. And not unsurprisingly, this came up in the centre of the reading, Four of Pentacles, which is about being fearful and trying to hang on to what you've got. It could be to do with hoarding food or supplies, or it may be to do with just feeling anxious about our financial situation and trying to hold on to what we have, which is not surprising, I suppose, given the circumstances. I think the economy is going to take quite a big hit. I don't think there's any getting away from that for a while. So this is really the card of sort of fearful holding on to what you have, which is not a great card, but on the other hand I suppose it's understandable, and maybe the stage that we're at in May as the fallout sort of begins, whether we're still in lockdown or not, I'm not sure that we can see that or not. Possibly I'll carry on. But yeah, I don't think this is surprising to find this card here. It's crossed by this card, which makes me feel that probably lockdown will be lifted and maybe the peak of the infections will be over, because this is the card of victory. And obviously there, Jason has reached his goal, found the golden fleece. Sorry, I should mention, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I use the Mythic Tarot by Liz Green, and it sort of bases the stories of the suits on Greek mythology, and this is the story of Jason and the Golden Fleece. So there he is. So I have a feeling there'll be this sense of euphoria. Yeah, we've beaten it, we're out, oh, thank God for that. However, of course, he has to get home. He's up on the Black Sea coast in near Georgia, Russian-Turkish border, allegedly. That's where the Golden Fleece was. But he has to get back to Greece with it. So it is an initial feeling of, okay, we've got over this stage, we've achieved our goal, we've cut down numbers, things are looking better, but it's only half the story. We've still got the rest of the year to go, really, and who knows how that's going to unfold. You know, it's not necessarily going to be finished yet, but at least there's some respite and there's some sense of we've got a handle on it. So I think this is a good card to have here. At the top of the readings, interesting, King of Pentacles. Now this represents King Midas, who really represents, if you like, money. Well, obviously money. It can represent, you know, the political elite, the ruling elite, people with money. Now, it can have one of two meanings, I think. There's a bit of me that suspects that there are parts of the establishment, I don't know how much this is true, I shouldn't really spread rumours, but I have read that people like Jacob Rees-Mogg have got investments that are going to do very well out of this crisis. So this may well reflect that kind of thing, because Midas was known for his greed. That was his defining characteristic. He couldn't get enough of gold. However, there was a curse put on him because he asked if everything he touched could be turned to gold. But of course he'd forgotten that he had to eat and drink, love, breathe, touch living things. And of course, once everything had turned to gold, it was all completely useless. So this may be a lesson there for those people, you know. I'm hoping that's the interpretation. It's probably a bit of both. There will be some people who make small fortunes out of other people's bad luck, if you like, or difficult situation. But they may well discover that their money is not actually worth it ultimately. That there are other things, other priorities in life that are more important. So let's hope they learn that lesson. Let's hope it's humbling them somewhat. I mean, my mind does turn to Boris Johnson. I certainly don't wish him ill, and I really wish him a speedy recovery. But there's an element there of karma I can't help feeling, you know. I mean, he was careless. He was thinking about the economy above people's health. He took advice from people like Dominic Cummings, who, I shouldn't really make this so political, but I can't help it. It's all part of the mix, who advocated a sort of, rather brutal idea of just letting people who had to die. You know, never mind, let's have the herd immunity. And at the beginning, Boris Johnson was trying to promote that view, going out shaking people's hands who were infected, and this is the result. So I think, you know, it might really shake some people up who traditionally have really been out for the establishment, out for making money for their friends, keeping it all going. And, you know, maybe we'll see some more empathy and compassion there. Ten of Cups is underpinning the reading, which is a nice card to have there. And I think it means that throughout this ordeal, people have really come together. I mean, this, in the journey of love, the journey of the cups, you know, represents people coming together towards the end of the love journey after being in love, falling out of love, betraying, sadness, coming back together as mature individuals. I've had this come up in a couple of readings actually, and I think this is going to be the lasting lesson that we all take from the situation, which is respect for each other, love for each other, reaffirming our feelings about each other as individuals, as family, as communities, as country, as the world. You know, I think love, mature, supportive, compassionate, altruistic love is going to be one of the positive things that comes out of this whole situation. And that's there holding up the bottom of the reading. Moving away from the Empress, she came up in another reading I did about, and I read it to be spring and summer's coming, fecundity. It will ease off the impact of the virus for the summer, hopefully. So this is kind of moving away now. So in May, that means, you know, the spring has come and maybe that influence is now having an effect. So therefore has sort of moved into the situation, the past situation. But this is an interesting card. This is sort of in May, in the immediate future of May, all the various influences I just mentioned there. This really is a card about spiteful chatter, you know, gossip. It's the Page of Swords, who is really, you know, you can see him blowing off there. Young, unformed, lively, a little bit mischievous, and prone to not having much judgment. So I think what it really means is probably in the media and everywhere there's going to be lots of rumours and lots of slanging matches and lots of blame and, you know, things like that going on. But we don't need to concern ourselves too much with that. Just wait and see how it all falls out. But yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen in May when the worst of the emergency's over. There's going to be some hard questions asked and there's going to be some backstabbing going on, I think. So this card is is sort of throwing another sort of angle on the significator, which was, if you remember, people sort of feeling that they had to hang on to what they had, that sort of feeling of insecurity and reacting to it with, you know, trying to hold on tightly to things. Now this, the Seven of Cups, is really a card of wishful thinking. So I suppose it ties in with you know, the Four of Pentacles, wishing things were different, you know, hoping, sort of dreaming of other opportunities, or, you know, so I suppose that's inevitable. You know, we're going to be sort of feeling a bit panicked and thinking, oh, you know, it'd be lovely if we could have had this or done that if this hadn't happened. So I kind of think, even though this is really about the journey of cups and the heart, I think it's daydreaming and wishing for things, you know, which is a natural human thing. You know, we'd be like, oh, we lost our holidays, we can't travel, to, you know, to go abroad for a while, or, you know, my business has suffered, I wish it hadn't. It's something like that. You know, under the circumstances, yeah, an understandable card to find in this position. This is how others might see us. So I guess this is quite interesting, and it came up in another reading. Well, actually, both two readings. And again, in that reading, I took it to mean that this is Narcissus who falls in love with himself. I took it to mean, you know, in this kind of enforced isolation that we've been in, whether we're still in it now in May, I'm not sure, but we have been in. It's been a time of great introspection. So it's been a time of really being thrown back on your own resources and learning to love love yourself, because you can't really love others properly until you love yourself and you feel whole, you know, to be whole in yourself. So you're not demanding or needing or trying to bargain things out of other people. You know, you're quite happy to be you and let them be them and love them. However, in this reading, I can't help but feel that how others see us, I think this will be perhaps how other countries see us, other leaders see us, maybe. There's an element of narcissism here. You know, I won't point any fingers, but I think it could have been handled better. Yeah, people have been amazing and come together, worked very hard. The government has been playing catch up, and it's partly maybe to do with, you know, sort of feeling we were invincible and, you know, not really taking it seriously or something, thinking, oh, it's the Chinese or I don't know, whatever. So I think there will be some criticism of the government and how they handled it, and how, in a sense, they were narcissistic, you know, thinking about themselves, thinking about their investments, thinking about the economy, not really being proactive enough. So maybe that's what this is about. Then hopes and fears. This is very obvious what it means. She's a Queen of Pentacles, a strong woman. She's got her own resources, male or female, listening to this. It's really about being grounded in the body, sensual, luxury loving. She takes Heracles as her lover. In the story, her name's Omphale, Queen Omphale. You know, she's a babe. She's got it going on, and I guess after all this lockdown and all this privation, our hopes are, oh, it'd be great to be out there, have money, have sex, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I guess, you know, there might be some kind of, a bit like in the Second World War when a lot of people were up to naughty business. You know, there'd be like a release and maybe, you know, a bit of a celebration of the qualities of this card. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe lots of babies born later in the year. However, yeah, at the top of the reading, and this again has come up in other readings, it's the same cards keep coming up, which is really interesting, because obviously all the signs are slightly different, but probably for the first time ever, we've all pretty much been in the same situation. Obviously people respond differently, there's different aspects to it, but it's surprising how often certain cards are arising. And this is one, the Three of Swords, which is really about a bit of bloodletting. It can be seen as a release of tension after the Two of Swords, where there's a lot of indecision and not wanting to face the issues, trying to avoid it, and then there's this rather serious outcome in the threes. This is the story of Clytemnestra, who kills Agamemnon, her husband, returning from the Trojan War, because he sacrificed their daughter so he could sail off with all his troops to go to the Trojan War. So I don't blame her, to be quite honest. But it's actually, yeah, it's a resolution in a way by letting out the toxicity, the poison of the situation. A bit of bloodletting, I think, is going to be necessary before everyone's satisfied with what's happened. Yeah, I think it's going to be some hard questions to answer. There is a lot of good feeling out there. There's been an amazing response from the public in Britain and elsewhere. I mean, of course, banging our own drum. Boris and co love to make it like we're unique. We're British, we survived the war and all that stuff. But I'm sure people everywhere are doing their bit. And, that's the wonderful thing about this situation, is how people's compassion and courage has come to the fore. So, but it's been a massive, massive shock, and I think people are going to want their answers. Okay, yeah, that's basically how I think it's going to pan out in May. I have been, as I mentioned, doing the astrological signs. I have been sort of saying, well, I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it's going to do. So I felt I had to do this. And I don't know about you, but I feel that the cards to me have spoken actually quite clearly. And yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. But the good thing is, we're going to have a bit of relief. We're going to get to a stage where it's like, phew, that bit's over. But there is going to be some price to pay, and we're only halfway through solving this whole thing. But we've made a start, so yeah. Okay, well, if you enjoyed this, please do give me a like or subscribe, or if you'd like a personal reading, I'd be delighted to give you an online reading. So please do get in touch with me, leave a message. In the meantime, take very good care of yourselves, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.